Welcome back to Process Over Pressure, the show where we get into the real story, not the highlight reel, the grit underneath. I'm Chad Paris, and today I am talking with Phil Bonney, a partner and broker at Dudley Resources out of Richmond, Virginia. Phil's path is unlike almost anyone I've ever had on this show before. Marine Corps, security contracting in Iraq and Afghanistan, international crypto markets out of Tel Aviv, and now one of the most specialized corners of real estate. Phil, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're glad. When I met with Phil, we were talking, and I was like, "Man, it's such a great story." And he's got some time that he was in, and he's kind of a worldly guy. He's been in combat. He's been through companies and work and a little bit of everything. And so he's a unique person, and I'm really excited to dive in today and probably learn more on what he does currently in his world. I think he had a great story, and so I'm really excited about sharing that. So again, thank you so much for being here, and I know taking time out to do this is always a pleasure to get guests on here and get to learn about them. So thanks. Well, Phil, we're going to jump into some questions. I'm going to fire away, and then just talk. Tell us what you think. And we'll go from there. So, first question number one here. You have worked in combat zones, international crypto markets, now real estate. What's probably been the hardest transition pivot between those that for you?
The transition back to civilian life, I would say, that's what a lot of people have issues with, and trying to find their new purpose and life, finding a new path, a new direction.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad you said that. It's tough. I could imagine going from one extreme to the other and trying to adapt to that. And it's like, I've never experienced it, but it can be challenging. What did you have to, I guess when you came out of the military, you talk about the transition. What was kind of maybe one or two little things you had to unlearn to go from military to private life? Like what was maybe one or two things you had to unlearn from doing that?
Well, my transition when I left the Marine Corps, I went directly into the private security world with the DoD and the Department. So I felt at home and the sand and the uncertainty, the long hours, the hard work. Um, that was what I was built up into. Um, years of training, years of experience. Um, so that was my norm. Um, and
Mm.
I just went back to Iraq. I went back to Afghanistan and traveled the world and tried to find my place.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I can imagine it's totally two different worlds, right? For those who's never done it, it's two different worlds. It's not even the same. Fair?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, but going from a battlefield in the Middle East to a battlefield, a negotiation. I mean, there's a lot of tools and tricks that you can use for each one. You have to be able to think outside of the box. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to think on your feet.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that being in the military, it allows you to be more adaptable, to be able to figure out how to get the mission done. Now,
Yeah. Wow.
I just do it with
Yeah,
a
that's good.
smile on my face.
Maybe learn a little patience over time. I know
W
patience is hard for
Without a
me.
doubt. Without a
Yeah,
doubt.
patience is hard for me. So one of the things I thought was interesting, I wanted to ask you about is you did crypto out of Tel Aviv. How did you what pulled you there? How'd that come about? I'd love to know. Like how did you end up doing that?
Well, I s I got hooked into all the hype and the excitement and how to trade it, and then, of course, I saw the possibilities that could potentially bring a complete lifestyle style change. Um, so I started doing that when Bitcoin was around 13 or 14K. I mean, this is before the explosion. And honestly, I wish I
Yeah.
bought more then. Um,
Don't we
but
all? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Um,
absolutely.
But, I just it wears you down looking at all the analytics and analyzing the markets and analyzing what the potential is, and because the big thing with crypto is that you're gonna either use technical or analytical, to figure out what it's gonna do. Now, the big thing with crypto is that it doesn't, or it didn't at the time, have the history, that you could learn from. So, I just got tired of reading all the graphs and all the charts and
Yeah.
the millions of little pips each day. And so I just, and being in a cubicle, it wasn't my thing. Um, so I knew that I was going to get out. I just didn't know what or where or when. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to get sucked into something and just being, that's all you are. Um,
Wow.
I'm the kind of guy that likes to be able to explore my options, be the master of my own destiny, to really be able to figure out what life is all about. And I know that's really a loaded thought because without some sort of direction, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
And luckily, during this period of my life, I met my wife, and she gave me everything that I could ask for because she was in real estate. And honestly, at that time, I didn't think of real estate, but she heard how I could negotiate deals, and she said, "Phil, you have to get into real estate. You're going to be amazing at it." I said, "Well, you've been right so far, so let's give it a shot."
No, that's awesome. You said something there just a second ago that man, it really resonated with me when you said I don't know it quote unquote, but you were referring to being in a cubicle, and before you know it, you realize like, what am I doing? Man, you know how many people? I mean, I've experienced it. How many people are probably sitting there like same thing, same day, same cubicle. I'm not a cubicle person either. I haven't met you, but couple times we've talked. But I can imagine you're not a cubicle guy either. But there's so many people that do that. Just get in that rut of doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and it's
Mhm.
like, wow, how did I get here? Next thing you know, you've been in it for 15 years, and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, you're living
So
someone else's dream.
yeah, you just it's just like a you feel like a hamster in a cage, right? You can't get out. You're just doing the same thing over and over and over. Yeah, wow,
Exactly.
so real estate. You got into real estate, and so what do you think? You think real estate is how did it feel when I guess when you obviously you hadn't had experience with real estate. Your wife was one that kind of pushed you in that, so you did do it. After you had been in a little while, what was that trigger that goes like, man, this is it. I love it. What was that for you? Do you remember or you recall? Or
Yeah.
has it happened?
So when my wife and I moved back to the United States, and this was in 2019, right before COVID is when I got my real estate license, and I got into commercial real estate. And I was a part of putting together a brand new project, an restrictive multi-use tax credit, 185 unit in downtown Richmond. We did all the punch walks and did all of that. Then
Wow.
during COVID, we leased it up. Um, we exceeded expectations by 6 months, and all of a sudden, once again, I'm sitting in my office saying, "Well, my job was done. What's next?" So that's when I met my, now a partner, Tim Dudley, and an amazing mentor, and he talked to me and showed me what the auction method of selling real estate can do. And at that time, the amount of knowledge I had about real estate auctions was about that oppression era. It's what I learned in AP history class in high school, about the poor farmers, the banks taking their land, the penny
Yeah.
auctions, and all of that. So when he showed me the potential about virtual, real estate auctions and what they could actually do and help, and how there's absolutely no limit on what we can do, I was hooked. I was
Yeah.
hooked. Um, and it's been off to the races since. And I mean, the auction method of selling real estate, it's completely changing how real estate is bought and sold.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. The word we hear, talking about auction, people hear that word automatically. It can be sometimes a negative thought, like a negative connotation about
Sure,
auction, right?
bankruptcies,
Because
foreclosure,
yeah,
tax sales,
um,
100%.
and so I think there's some, which is great because I think people hear it's like, oh, this is, they're bad. It's like, no, I don't necessarily think that's the truth. So, talking about real estate, I mean, that's what you do, and you auction real estate, and from probate, not just probate. That's a small part of what you do. You do a lot in auction and real estate. What I guess what is it like when you're having those discussions with a homeowner, or maybe it's a family that the loved one lost, they had a lot of land and they're going through this process, they don't know or they don't understand. I can tell you my own experience. We've had some family members that had land and had to go through this. What is that like, or what is your approach to that? Not necessarily just probate, but just any. There's always emotions when you sell something, right? So,
Absolutely.
how does that affected you, or how do you guys at Dudley kind of work with if someone's listening and they're like, hey, I've got something like that. What makes you different, or how do you navigate that?
Sure. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah,
So regarding probate, I love when I'm sitting, across a table with the family members, and they're telling me the story. They're telling me the
yeah,
story about what this house has meant to them. They're showing me where their Christmas tree was, or the generations that have been there. Um, and knowing that because we are in the auction world, we just have a lot of different ways to help. We have the ability of connecting them with, attorneys, CPAs, and that's what I advise all my clients. Have someone to deal with the estate taxes, and have an attorney, because the
yeah,
probate process, it's complicated. There's a lot of emotions there. People can
yeah,
fight, and there's just a lot of moving parts. So helping people, get maximum value for the estate, and helping them navigate every type or every part of the process. That's what benefits me. That's what it gives me solace because helping people is what I do.
Yeah. I love that.
That's what drives me and wakes me up in the morning, trying to find the best way to provide the service that they need. Because when I'm working with my clients, it's about their needs, their
Yeah.
wants, um, and helping
I like
them
that.
see the bigger picture and being able to put each part of this into a separate piece in order to get the entire mission accomplished. Um, Now, outside of probate, we also sell residential, commercial, multi-parcel, multi-family, all around the country. I mean, we are based in Virginia, but because of the method and the manner that we're able to sell, because everything is online, we're able to work in any state in order to help our clients.
Hmm. Well, yeah. So again, I think, man, just, again, you always have some good parts there. You talk about is like there is emotion, right? And I want to just kind of circle back on one thing you said there, because I've experienced it, so I know it firsthand. And I think there's probably a lot of listeners that probably experience it too. When you go through a probate, right? Nobody prepares you for a family member passing away, and you have all this property or land or whatever. And I think you said something that really resonated with me when you said we really work with the families because you are going to have a lawyer. You're going to have a CPA. And I can tell you, if you don't have somebody to help walk you through that, like you, it can get clunky and get very, before you know it, you're like very frustrated because it's already a tough time. So you could get very frustrated with that quickly.
Well, it's not
Uh,
just that as well. If you have been approved as the executor of an estate, you have the legal responsibility to settle all of the debts, the
yeah, it's true.
taxes. You have taken on this obligation that if you don't know how to deal with it, you could get sued. I mean, the
Yeah,
family members could come after you. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that can go wrong, and we give all of our clients an itemized list of everything that they need to do to collect. Um, and then, like I said, we literally take them by the hands and help them go through the entire process. You know, the check marks, the checklists, um, and we just peel it apart piece by piece. And at the end of the day,
that's great.
um, it's done. Everyone can move on.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then even in just the real estate, I mean, just trying to auction off a piece of real estate or whatever. I mean, that's that has its own,
Oh,
demons, so to
sure,
speak, to have to deal with and work through. And
sure.
whether you
Well,
have
you got
mental
to
rights
know
on it, you don't have
what
mental rights.
you,
How
yeah,
Yeah. It's
you
funny
know.
how many people like it comes down, and this is not necessarily about probate, but oftentimes land just, you inherit it or it's yours, or
Mhm.
maybe you bought it, it's been in the family for 100 years, or you've had it for it's a piece of property that's been there. Like you don't know. I mean, these things were written, it could be 20, 30 years ago. And so you don't know all the ins and outs of what it is. And I have found, like I've talked to people like where, you know, maybe the owner of the property now had negotiated a contract with somebody to have a right of way to be able to go down that property. And it's not in documentation that they have. And it's kind of like, it's like Easter egg hunting, right? You just kind of figure it out, find out all the things and haves and stuff like that. It's not as simple as I think people just think, well, you know what? We're going to auction this land off. Come on down, and or this piece of property or real estate. Just come on down. And we're going to auction. No, there's a lot of work goes behind it that you have to do way before the auction starts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, we're real estate brokers just like everyone else. But because of being in the auction world, we have the ability of doing things that a regular broker can't do or don't know how to do. So we have the ability of going out. I mean, let's just take land for instance. I mean, I was selling 187 acres in Albemarle County, and the seller knew he had 187 acres on four tracks, but the problem was it wasn't 187 acres of usable land.
Mm,
So what we
good
did,
point.
we got a concept plat done, and we got the concept plat because he needed it sold fast, and the county was backed up by, I think, about a year and a half of getting anything done. So we got the concept plat done. We showed him, I think we made 11 good home sites out of it. And we showed him why he didn't have 187 acres, but rather 140 acres, because this 40 was in a ravine. It was on a river, and you can't build on it, or you can't get roads back to it. So we got the concept plat done. We showed him that you have 11 good home sites. We can break it up and to this parcel, this parcel, and this parcel, and then we auctioned off each parcel on this concept plat, as well as the entirety bid. So that in itself
Wow.
brought him the most bang for his buck, because finally he understood what he had to work with. And then of course, we paid for all the cost of all of that, so we make it as free for all of our clients as possible, whether it's home inspections or appraisals or site work or anything like that. We're always looking after our clients first.
Yeah. You really are a boutique firm that really takes into consideration where people are and kind of, I mean, I think you said it best. You know, you actually take them by the hand and walk them through this process, whatever the process may be. It's all about, you know, something keeps popping up and was thinking about, you know, you had service in this country, and really you're servicing people today. You're still doing that. Your service, you got a service heart, and so you're still doing that today. Really,
Oh, yeah.
it's you're just doing it differently. I mean, you're serving each individual, you know, and helping them. So that's really really cool.
Well, like I
So
said, the battlefield, it changes, but the drive behind that mentality, it
yeah,
it's still there.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. So talk a little bit about y- the word AI is out there all over, right? We hear AI, AI. Everybody's seeing this AI, and so you know, your site actually mentions you use AI and innovation and marketing to maximize your auction values. What for people that's, you know, I think people are you're either, I say this, people are either for AI or they're scared to death of it. It's no kind of happy medium. They're just really, that's where the world is right now. But how do you use that, or day to day? Like, what does that look like for you, and how has it helped you? You know, in what you're doing.
So people fear change, and
Yes,
change is the only constant. So let me ask you, when was the last time you went to Google and asked a question? Nowadays, you go to
all
AI.
the time.
Nowadays, what people are doing is going into chat and asking that same question. So the old tools and tricks, I'm not saying that they don't exist anymore, but AI is doing things that Google can't do. All
Yeah,
right. So when and in the past, let's take marketing. Okay, you're going to be utilizing social media, Facebook, Instagrams. You're going to be utilizing Google marketing as SEO marketing. You're going to be tracking people around the internet. Nowadays, the big things is AEO, okay, and the AI optimization. So that's what people these days are looking towards because that is the hype. That is the big thing. They can get all their questions answered more efficiently and in better detail than what it could have been done 5, 10 years ago. It's just that's the way tech is moving. Now, what we utilize it for, all inspections, reports, appraisals, market analysis, neighborhood analysis. You can literally do the same work that would have taken you 4 hours and you can get it done in 10 minutes. I mean, it's
Yeah.
streamlining how business is done. And
Yeah.
it's exciting. And if I would say that if you are not on top of AI, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. It's the
Yeah.
future.
I tell it is. And I tell people all the time, it's, you got to think back of the internet when it, 25 years ago or longer when it first came out, we thought of the internet like this. Now, tell me a business that if you have a business and you're in business with anything, you got to have a website. Uh, it's kind of the same thing. I think with AI is growing and adapting so fast. And think you're smart in the way you use it because you're right. That workflow where it took 10 hours now can be within minutes. That's kind of giving you all that, which is really amazing, I think. And it is a tool that it's not going anywhere. I think if you listen to the news or anything else, AI is here to stay. It's going to do nothing but get better and better and better. So, um, what you talk a little bit about, kind of how you used it or you did, your workflows. What are some areas maybe where it's fallen short a little bit for you? Like it's not, you'd love for it to do that, but it's not doing this, because I think there's still some human element that's involved in everything.
Absolutely. I mean, AI can do a lot, but being able to pivot, being able to talk to people, being able to have that connection,
Yeah.
the human element of business. That's what I think is always going to be needed. Being
Yeah.
able to talk to a real person and not a bot, or getting that emotional connection, because that's what people and humans crave is the
Yeah.
connection. When I was living around the world and doing what I used to do, the connection was the thing that I missed the most,
Yeah.
and there's no substitute for it. So
No,
there's
it's not.
always going to be that need for the human to human uh, camaraderie, if you will.
No,
Otherwise, what's the point of waking up in the morning?
man, I totally agree with that. And I look at where we are today. I mean, more and more people, you think about all the things in the communication that happens today. Take young people, for example. They communicate more through a text message now than a face to face.
Mhm.
There's more dating apps that you basically look at someone through pictures and their bio before you ever really talk to them. Uh, there's so many. We've created this world where we've really pushed for a long time, pushed people to kind of go back into their let's just say it like their cubicle, their own little place, and have this unconnection with people. And I think that's why my personal belief is I think that's why we see more and more people that are struggling. Uh, And I think we're going to see a shift of people wanting that human connection again. You're right. There's nothing like the human connection. Being able to engage with people just like we're doing here. I mean, there's something powerful about it. It just does something to your soul. It makes you feel really good about what you're doing, and I think that's important to keep in mind. So, what has anyone ever, when you guys are doing some of this, did you do this on your own, or did you have somebody build it out for you? How did you approach it? Is this like you're a pretty smart guy, and I didn't, a lot of people are doing this on their own. How did y'all set this up? Did you do it or have somebody do
I'm a firm believer in playing to my strengths.
it? Yeah.
And and there's much smarter people than
Yeah.
me to deal with all of that. And we have one hell of a marketing team and an office manager here that really I rely on to keep us all updated on the latest trends and the latest AI this and AI that. Um, so that's what I'll say about that.
Great answer. Great answer. Right. Great answer. So, this next question I always like to ask guests. I think it's a good one for people to hear. I think the purpose behind this podcast, the name of it is process over pressure, and I think so many times we get caught into pressure and it makes us change or do things and not sticking to a process. And so what I'd like to know is kind of from you is what was a moment you almost walked away from all this, and what made you stay? Has there been a moment where you're like, you know what, I'm done with this, and maybe what made you stay?
And I'll tell you, real estate auctions, there's nothing like it. It is by far the greatest, best, and sometimes most frustrating things that I've ever done in my life. There is not a place that I would rather be. I truly believe in what we are bringing to the real estate market, the ability for clients to sell their real estate for free, not having to pay any sort of commissions or negotiate on their needs, their wishes. Um, I truly believe there's not anywhere else or anything else that I would rather be doing in this world. I've done a
Well,
lot,
that's
been around the block, but this is by far what is giving myself and my family breathing room.
it's all I definitely can tell your passion for it, and that's it's awesome when you find something that you're like, this is what I was meant to do, like that feeling of
Well,
knowing this is it,
absolutely.
right? This is what I was called to do.
Sure. Well,
It makes
time
you
is the
it's
greatest.
different.
Well, I was just going to say that time is the greatest commodity that we can never get back. And being able to be there for my kids and to be there for my wife, and not work until 8, not 9 o'clock at night in a cubicle. So time is, I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Yeah, so true. Time we don't get that back, do we? We don't get back. So Phil, question here: what does most people get wrong about the auction model in real estate? That just the theory or the thoughts, or
Well, I mean,
what do they
it
get wrong about it?
that it's not for distressed assets, that you aren't forced to sell, that you don't have a say in what's going on. Because the auction method, it gives you more power, it gives you better prices, gives you much more exposure, and it literally will give you everything that you want. I I mean, if you need a rent back option, put it into the terms. Do you want to keep this? Put it into your terms. And when someone comes to one of my auctions, they have to agree to my client's terms.
Most of the time when you hear the word auction, you're thinking it's either in a distressed
Bankruptcy,
situation or so,
foreclosure.
yeah,
Exactly.
and I could have my home right here that I live in, and I could come to you and say, "Hey, I don't want to go through the traditional real estate. I want to auction it off," and I
Sure.
could do that, right? I mean, and
100%.
pe-
100%. And
well, why do you think it is people don't choose that option? Because look, if I go get a real
they
estate
don't know
agent
about
right now, and
it's they don't know about it. And that's one of the really cool things about my job is when I first start talking to someone and I explain to them about what the auction method of selling real estate really is. And I go through the information and you can literally see the light bulb just go off in their head. And they all tell me the same exact thing. Why isn't everyone doing this? And my
a point,
response is
yeah,
because people don't know about it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you didn't know about
No,
it until you talked about it.
no,
So
no. I mean,
that's
yeah.
one of the biggest things that I do is that I educate people. I go around to brokerages all around the Mid-Atlantic, and teach them about the of what this is and how I am a toolbox. I am a tool in a toolbox for any and all agents, and being able to convey this new idea to people that I know it works because I auctioned off and sold 118 pieces of real estate last year. So I know it works. And being able to give this ability to other agents to provide maximum exposure and maximum value for their clients and it doesn't even cost them anything, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that is, and I get. I think it's just a lack of understanding and knowing. People are, we've always traditionally, when you get ready to sell your house, what do? You call a real estate agent. You say, "Hey, I want to list my house." They come out,
And
they
you
take
pay
pictures, they put it on the market.
6% and then they beat it
Yeah,
up, and then you have to do all this stuff to the house, paint and all of that. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
yeah. I mean, I've been there and done that. I know exactly the pain points you're talking about. Next thing you know, you're adding an extra 5 or 10,000 in your house to get it ready to sell,
And
in
then it
hopes that you're
doesn't
going to make it
sell, it's
out of it.
on the market and you're cutting price, cutting price, cutting price, and cutting price, and then you get a
Yeah,
buyer, and then you have to negotiate. Then they're gonna beat your house up because they want the white cabinets and not the
yeah,
brown ones, or they want this fixture or that. They don't like the color of this room. They're gonna beat you up. They're gonna rake you across the,
yeah.
coals.
Uh,
With
ha-
me, you're not
happens every day.
doing it. Exactly. And especially with the changing of the markets and rates being where they are, and the uncertainty and this and that and the other. I mean, the auction method gives you stability. It gives you a date and time that you can know that you're going to have an offer at this time, and then you can decide if you want to sell.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating, and again, I think it's just people don't know about it, and they don't understand what it is.
Exactly.
Well, Phil, listen, this has been exactly the kind of conversations that I love. This show this is why this show exists. Is to bring awareness to people, to bring understanding that there are other ways out there. There are people just like you that get up and go to work every day and have been through different journeys in your life. You're just a normal person that puts clothes on like everybody else, and really focuses on that process over pressure and how you do it, what process will. If you have the right process in place, the pressure won't happen. But if you don't, the pressure will happen. So if there's somebody out there right now in the middle of a probate situation or looking to sell their house or they're getting ready to do that,
Building or land or
yeah,
portfolio.
whatever.
Absolutely.
How's the how's the best way for them to reach out to you and Dudley for the Dudley Resources? Get to where should they go? Help them understand that.
So our website and virtual bidding platform is dudleyresources.com. Um, My email is pbonnie@dudleyresources.com, and they can connect with me there. They can give me a call on my phone. And they're welcome to call my office, 804-709 1854, I think it is. And it'd just be a pleasure to have a talk and educate. And I can always send over uh, uh, literature, because it's all about education. Um, because that's when you grow.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think, before if you're out there listening, before you go and start the journey, if you know you're ready to buy a house or sell a house or your, piece of land, property, real estate property, whatever that is, you know, give Phil a call and just have a conversation. It doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation.
It definitely does
And
not.
he can, you can lay it out for them and give them resources. And then they have an educated decision to make, right? Then they can say, okay, is this good or this not good? But at least they're informed, and I think that's important for we always make decisions informed. You can't make a decision without being informed, right? You gotta know what your options are. So, Phil, thank you again. Thank you for really being here today. Um, I just appreciate you being real with us today, and to everyone listening out there, if this hits home, uh, share it with somebody. Tell somebody, hey, go watch this podcast. I heard this today. This guy, man, they're doing some really cool stuff. I think this could be, an area to go listen to. Um, and again, I'm Chad Parrish. Process beats pressure every time. Thanks for joining us.